I was born in Lviv in 1921. From early days, I have loved Podole, the part of Poland that Lviv was. We lived in a street Królowej Jadwigi. I remember it was number 6 on the ground floor. Very comfortable. I intended to be a school teacher and was very glad when I was taken into the Lyceum for teachers. September the 12th, 1 o'clock, I was over 17 and I had my first rendezvous with my new girlfriend. When I crossed over Lona Sapiechy to the avenue that young people used to attend for walks, suddenly a bomb. In a moment's time, I found myself taken into the barber shop, right through the window with the glass, and landed beside the barber without a scratch on my feet. Across the junction, a crowd built up. At the bottom, amongst the rubble, a beautiful schoolgirl lay dead with a leg missing. The General Maciek, who informed us of the surrender, advised us that an army was being formed in France and that we should try and join by going through Romania. I was collected by Polish army men, inquired and sent to Camp Ketkidown. I got advanced to a corporal in charge of platoon. When the army from the camp was sent to Maginot Line, we were being inspected by General Maciek, who shouted, "What is a boy doing in charge of men?" I have applied for a change to Air Force, have been accepted with the rank of sub-lieutenant, and I had to travel back to Camp Ketkidown in Brittany to report. By some coincidence, I met my brother, the first person and the only person on the road in the camp. I definitely was interested how he got on, because the last time I saw him was in Hungary. So we talked away and came to a shed, and there happened to be a registrar. And when he interrupted our conversation, saying that if one of you gets hurt, the other will inform the mother. It hit me so well, I signed for the Navy. And the Navy, after training, and April the 3rd, I arrived in Great Britain, in Plymouth. In Plymouth there was a Polish ship by the name of Kościuszko, and it was used as a depot for the army. The commander in charge arranged for me to get training in artillery in Devonport by the Royal Navy. I have passed my test, and I was placed on the ORP Burza, that's translated as Polish Storm. There we happened to be in time when the British Army was in trouble. In Dunkirk, they were trying to get a passage back to Britain. Burza made 3 attempts. In the first one, there must have been hundreds of them. It took over half an hour when they landed back in Britain to leave the ship. In November 1940, I was transferred to Piorun. Piorun is translated as a thunderbolt. Brand new destroyer by the name of Nerissa, built in Clydebank by John Brown. In May 26, starting 8 o'clock in the evening, we were engaged in the Battle of Bismarck. Captain Pawlowski was definitely a patriot. He attacked Bismarck, came within the torpedo range. 3 torpedoes were fired. One passed by this stem. The other 2 center of Bismarck, and another on the stern. 2 hits. We followed the Bismarck, keeping a distance, but then the Bismarck opened fire on us 9 o'clock. It's for over an hour we are under the fire. All the shells passing above the mast height. Not one hit. I thought that after hearing that Prince of Wales had a shot at Bismarck and damaged the mast, that the artillery of Bismarck did not get the correct readings. They assumed that our little destroyer was a cruiser Sheffield, much farther. We came to Bismarck so close that looking up, I saw the bottom of the ship because the stem of the ship had risen with the stern almost below the water. But looking up, I saw the bottom of the ship and shouted, "What a barn!" 8 o'clock in the morning, after being at the gun for the whole night, firing at Bismarck, 3 salvos of 6 shells, 4.7. I used for target a window on the bridge that was black with not reflection of light, realizing that it was open for ventilation, and that was my target. I was bang on a distance only a few hundred meters, could not miss. The ship was scattered 8 o'clock in the morning, and the action station on the ship withdrawn. I went down below, had a shower, and then found that the breakfast was already taken by everybody. So I was quite happy to have a cup of coffee and a piece with South African lemon and melon jam. When I heard Bismarck's up again, I ran over with a cup in my hand and saw Bismarck upside down. With the action station back again at 9 o'clock, I saw the Bismarck being hit by heard the explosions against the Bismarck by the Royal Navy. We were not invited to take part. 10 o'clock, I saw the ship go down again, horizontally, not what I would expect to go down either by the stem or stern. Just went down slowly, swallowed by the great sea. And I was transferred to Kwiawiak. In Kwiawiak, my term was very short, because on the first trip in Mediterranean, we were on a convoy escorting 12 merchant ships with supplies for Malta that was being, curtailed by the Germans. The ship was hit by the mine. I was sliding along the deck. I was so annoyed, I started swimming for Africa. I knew from the map, and I remember on the map a white spot on the map of Congo where no man was before. That was my intended. But somehow, how it happened, as I told you, it was so dark that you couldn't see. A boat happened to come alongside me. And I didn't know that I was so exhausted. I couldn't lift myself into the boat. We were in Malta for 2 nights, and then the berth on the destroyer that took us back. For some reason or other, I don't know, I got a letter that I'm discharged from the Navy. I was sent to Glasgow, to Oxford, for my civilian clothing. They've taken away my uniform. And somehow I managed to survive. Then I got a letter from London and got a job in London as a postman. When I was doing that job, I was offered another job in Pinewood Studios as scenario writer. Then the government in London was disbanded. My £20 a month pension was stopped, and I came back to Glasgow. There I met my wife, and the open-air dance, and she couldn't dance, and I said, well, it's time for you to start. So we were dancing for 66 years together. Yes.
My father was described by my mother as the most dashing Polish sailor she had ever seen. Black, slicked hair, very, very smart, and a Polish gentleman. They moved up to Caithness in the early 50s. My grandfather was a a journalist in the Glasgow Herald at that time. He was in charge of the arts reporting. And when he retired, he wanted to move back to Caithness. His family home was in Auchergill, just outside Wick. So they moved back to Wick and eventually moved down to the Croft in Dunbeath.
My father already had a connection to this area because when he was based at Scapa Flow, they used to come across on a boat and they would get a lift from Scrabster down to Leibster to Maggie Dawn's, which was the only house with alcohol at that time.
I haven't got a clue how he coped. He ran a croft, he did full-time work, often away from home for most of the week. He worked in every job I can think of. The local electric pylons, he helped to build them. Roads, he helped to build roads in Caithness. Salmon fishing, the local villages, he did salmon fishing. Where there was a job, he took it, and he did it well, I feel. He worked hard just to provide us with a living. He supported every one of us. He was tremendous.
Myself, a twin brother, and my father used to work quite closely together on the croft. I mean, it was always sort of, it was, a team thing, but obviously he'd be given the orders.
My father and mother both loved the whist drives, as Lara will remember because she was dragged along to whist drives too. And that was a big part of their life. Also the field club was a big thing for them. They were very interested in everything around them.
They took part in various activities. They really enjoyed the Italian club and had a lot of Italian friends in Caithness.
They love their music, and I think they've shared that love of music with me, and some of my happiest memories are just driving down the road with the music blasting in the car to go and get ice cream down in Brora, which we would have done on a very regular basis.
They were very good to the kids, my father especially. He likes nothing better than taking the hand of a small person and wandering round the garden.
I remember one time, it was a couple of years ago now, and he was in his 80s even then, and he was always keen on climbing trees when he was growing up. He used to tell me about the times of him climbing fruit trees in Poland and things. And there was this one time, the both of us were climbing on one of the harbour walls. Now, like I say, he was in his 80s at the time, but he was determined if I got to the top, he would too. He told me it reminded me a lot of him, because he used to love climbing trees as well.
One of the first impressions I got of him, it was, I think, just before I actually met him. He was, everyone was grumbling because he was 98 and had gone and cut down a tree without warning anyone, and they just found out, he's just cut down the tree at 98 without any help.
He was always a very brilliant chess player, and so I quite like a game of chess myself. But I so far played him many games of chess, and I've not won once. He's an incredible chess player, and I don't know if I'll ever manage to actually win that.
I don't know if we can. I used to go to chess club when I was young, and I had a good few games with Grandpa. And one of the last times I played him was up here, and I had 2 games. And the first one I did absolutely terribly. He had me in a few moves, and this is maybe, a year ago, if that or so. And I played him a second game, and I said, "Oh, I've done slightly better." And he says, "Yes, I went easy on you the second time."
There's always been a love of music in the family, and then last Christmas at his birthday, he sang some Polish songs for us, which was really, really nice because that's a part of the culture we've not really had as much exposure to.
Good books, good company, Scrabble, always Scrabble, and so competitive.
He has slowed down a bit, but one thing that was always obvious was his work ethic.
He has a beautiful garden outside, which he loves to tend to. It's a constant battle with weeds. And he has a polytunnel, which has now got a very comfortable chair in it. So when I'm away, I can imagine that he does sometimes doze off and has a little nap in the polytunnel.
He gets up, the fire goes on first. Winter and summer, that fire goes on. That's important. Gets on with his day, cooks for himself, which at 99 I think is incredible. My sister will come across to help him tidy up. If he needs to go for shopping, he will go for shopping with my sister chauffeuring, because he had to give up driving 2 years ago.
Regular habits: coffee at appropriate time, lunch at appropriate time, coffee again in the evening, or tea in the evening at appropriate time, and plenty of games, but always working as well.
Work ethic. That is a definite. I've got a very, very strong work ethic. My father is a very honourable man, honest.
Once you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Postanowieniem z dnia 29 marca 2021 roku pan Richard Polanski odznaczony został Krzyżem Kawalerskim Orderu Odrodzenia Polski.
Postanowienie prezydenta Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej z dnia 21 września 2020 roku o nadaniu pierwszego stopnia oficerskiego podporucznika marynarki, starszy marynarz Ryszard Jan Polański, syn Stanisława, rocznik 1921. Postanowienie podpisał prezydent Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej Andrzej Duda.
To właśnie dzięki takim ludziom jak Pan dziś możemy cieszyć się wolną Polską. Pańska odwaga powinna być dla nas wszystkich i dla przyszłych pokoleń powodem do dumy i do naśladowania. Życzę dobrego zdrowia i wszelkiej pomyślności osobistej. Niech ta chwalebna służba dla Sił Zbrojnych Rzeczypospolitej Polskiej będzie dla Pana satysfakcją i honorem. Wiceadmirał Krzysztof Jaworski.
I wish for peace on earth forever. When I was firing at Bismarck, I thought it might be a warning that a war is not a solution to life on earth. Peace and enjoyment is. Grateful to God to create a wonderful earth. Thank you very much for recognizing me, for trying to do my best.